Okay, recordings live, 1 2 1 2. Oh, interesting. So I can prep these YouTube videos. I just have to go up to each advert, skip the advert, and then move along, and it won't replay the advert. So a bit of prep work,
Sneaky.
ahead of each video. So I've got 20 minutes before the next ad. All right then. So in the chat channel, just get my Discord in the right place. So in the chat channel, can everyone see C3 AoA in Discord? It should be a folder, and you've got Ashes of Alvon, you've got AoA maps, and you've got timetable. Has everyone got access to all of that?
Yes.
Okay, so in AoA maps, if I could get you to open the first picture, this is the new face of Alvon. A little bit different to what those of you who may remember. Continent itself has undergone a massive flooding, huge amount of change to agriculture and general topography across the region. We are set 100 years in the future from the conclusion of Campaign 2, which summarily concluded with the Battle of Ruination, where the forces of the gods battled for control over the material plane, and with the allied forces and heroes of the time, they were pushed back and sealed beyond the Eternal Gates. With the sealing of those gates, brought about a huge amount of disruption to the magical flow and ley lines across the continent, which has created a buildup of magical reservoir and energy over the century. And as we are 99 years coming onto the centenary in the start of this setting, there is now an absolute abundance of magical power that can be drawn upon by even the simple common folk who have had no prior experience or knowledge, but it's almost that feeling like there's something in the air. To begin our setting, we're going to be focusing on the Golden Peninsula, specifically on the capital known as the Golden Keep, formerly known as Fort Farron. A town that in its past has survived a burning. It has been razed and rebuilt multiple times. It housed the mass exodus and refugees of the town of Graving right before the Battle of Ruination, and is now home to a very diverse set of individuals, of common folk, human, dwarfs, gnomes are very fair to see, but you still have plenty of people from all over the world working in artisan roles or perhaps just part of the general populace. Far more diverse than when it was last here in Campaign 2. But the most common change is to note the Golden Keep is now a sprawling multi-tiered citadel city. Each of the 5 rings are terraced, dissected by several tiered walls of gatehouses, each patrolled by the local militia known as the Golden Keepers. They patrol the streets and have a very, very strict policy on crime and general misdemeanors, and the law is generally well upheld as they are well respected individuals amongst the city's denizens. In terms of the ruling parties, it is a very top-down hierarchy run by the council. The council is the general public word for them that they would be referred to as by denizens. However, they also go by other names within the inner circles and trusted individuals of the hierarchy of the city. In terms of the attitudes towards religion, it is very dogmatic. It is the cult of the Golden One that presides over the populace. It's typically referred to as the Church of the Golden One, but those outside of its reach usually refer to it as a cult, as it is very, very dogmatic in its approach. The simple followings of all those within the Golden Keep is the certainty of two things in life is taxes and death, both of which should be respected and revered, with each in turn for what each can offer. A chance for a purpose, a chance for success, and a chance to pass on wealth and fortune to others. And basically it is more peaceful than those who might perhaps perceive it as from onlookers from outside of the faith. Now, in terms of the general approach, the city itself houses a massive cathedral where most of the populace usually attends once a week for very large public sermons and public notices. In each of the 5 tiers, there are several smaller churches where you will have smaller bishops of the order providing leadership for their individual tier flocks. Now, the tiers themselves are not of differing importance, but they are just a breaking of differing sectors. For example, you have the artisans tier, you have the artisans tier, the labor tier, you have the Commonwealth tier, and then the other 2 tiers are for the nobility. One is the royal housing, which is the Golden Keep itself, and then the other one is the Lord's tier beneath it. As you sort of take this in, as we go deep, overlooking from a sky top down this multi-tiered city with its Golden Keep painted for the full exterior of wonderful gold shining in the sunset, as right on the edge of the city walls is a sheer 2,000-foot drop cliff that goes straight into the ocean itself. At the base of this cliff is a fully functioning work dock harbour, and at the top directly above it, at the outlook of the cliffs, is also a fully functioning sky dock for the sky ships that travel in and out of the Golden Keep. The Golden Keep sky dock itself can only house up to 2 sky ships at one time, both of which are typically incredibly large in size. However, the docks below can hold up to 4 or 5 large ships and cargo carriers, just to give you an instance of size. In terms of the actual setting where we will start, in the lowest tier, in the artisans tier, as we sort of come along the cobbled streets of golden paint here and there, a little bit of a slapdash approach, more picturing a medieval Tudor English town structure. As you have the patrolling golden cloaks and golden keepers walking past side by side, the general denizens busying themselves with day-to-day activities. As we turn onto the main street and we see a large, towering 3-story building, and on the top of it you can see very clearly emblazoned with gold filigree, the Adventurers Guild. Outside, brandished in large banner that's clearly been erected in recent days, you can see a drooping text that reads, "Celebrating 100 years of success." Inside the smaller foyer entrance, immediately the smells of a burning, warm, cozy fire, the rattling of tankards on steel and wooden countertops, a busy, bustling atmosphere as we can see a group of adventurers having recently returned from a visit, making an absolute ruckus and cashing in with the individual behind the bar, attempting to be delivering some kind of what looks like a head of a creature and claiming a bounty. Whilst that's going on, sat with his back to the ruckus, we have an individual in a rather large, comfortable looking armchair. Idris, would you like to introduce and describe your character, please?
He is tall, well built, as one would expect a seasoned man at arms, wearing a red and blue armor. Actually, a chainmail in a red and blue surcoat, with a very elaborate and well tended to golden studded sword belt. He's facing the fire. He's paying very little attention to whatever is going on behind him, and leisurely smoking a pipe and sipping from a glass of wine. It looks particularly expensive. He's, by all means, a handsome looking person, even if worn down and a bit rugged. His hair is dusty blonde. He seems to shave, although the stubble got a little bit out of control recently. And he seems lost in thought, fiddling with what seems to be some sort of an amulet in the shape of a shield with a palm on it. He sets it down from time to time to pick up the glass of wine, takes a sip, smiles appreciatively, and takes another puff of smoke while looking into the fire.
Whilst you're enjoying your glass of wine, you hear stumbling over with their own tankard, sloshing all over the place, a bit spilling over the back of your chair, and a firm gauntlet fist lands on your shoulder as, looking up to you, a familiar set of eyes, a half draconic, half human individual with red scaled skin, with eyes that close horizontally, as he looks in with a grin. Ah, Lottie! What are you doing here? Thought you'd be out catching the women. This you would know. This you wouldn't know as Boris, the individual.
All the women I'd be chasing after are all nice and tucked in, not prowling the streets. And he takes another puff of smoke.
Well, you would know Boris to be of a gloating individual, one who loves to be a bit of a thrill seeker and an attention seeker, as he's definitely trying to play up his position over you at the moment with a successful catch of retrieving of a bounty. He does say, you know, we lost one or two on that one. Is there any chance I could talk you into joining the only most successful group of adventurers going in the Adventurers Guild? 6 bounties this month?
I don't know, maybe work's been slow. But you do know I'm a cavalryman, right? What use do you have for me outside of a lance formation?
And then a voice from the back goes, I think you'd make amazing bait! As Boris laughs, releases your shoulder, and turns around and says, give it a think. As he turns back, and you can see him, a large coin purse has been emptied onto the countertop, and the 6 individuals in this party are now rapidly counting all the coin.
He whistles appreciatively, but then returns to looking back into the flames, pondering the offer. Work has been slow recently, especially here. He says mostly to himself.
Okay. Make a perception roll for me. First roll of the night. 16. You would notice that a small part of parchment, sort of like a scroll that's been crumpled, torn in half, and rolled up, fell out of Boris's person and is on the floor just to the right of your chair.
For Tom's sake. He gets up, stretches, picks the paper up, goes to Boris, taps him on the shoulder. Mind your pockets better next time, he says, handing the note.
Oh, that thing. Ah, a load of codswallop. Give it a read, it's a good laugh.
He cocks an eyebrow and unfurls the thing and looks it over.
It currently reads as a wanted, all hands, reward 200 gold pieces, and you were noticed, and for players, instead of gold pieces, it's written GSC, which is in the common hand referred to as golden skull coins. It's been interchangeable with the general term for gold, certainly anywhere within the Golden Keep Peninsula. So 200 GSC is written as the reward, and you can see that there's this picture of a what looks to be like a drake head.
Wait, somebody wants this killed?
Yeah, load of codswallop. We were in the area to kill this manticore, but no dragons up there in the mountains.
Goes after a dragon for 200 gold.
Aye, must be a baby one. Wasn't worth our time.
Have you ever watched somebody walk into a furnace?
He looks at you coldly, as if to sort of remind you that you're now looking face to face with a part dragon himself.
Don't give me that look. You know what proper dragons do to somebody whose armor or out of it.
A puff of smoke comes out of his nostrils. Don't have to be a full dragon to do that.
Yeah, pretty much. And, would you go facing something like that on your own for 200 gold?
As I said, not worth our time. The silver fists, we drive a higher price. Don't we, lads? There's this general attitude of cold coin counting. He says again, don't we, lads? And they're like, yep, unison. So.
Yeah, well. Mind if I keep this?
By all means. We must have missed the fire.
Just in case I'm in the area and feel particularly suicidal, I might give it a shot, huh? Taps Boris on the shoulder again.
As we leave the room, the warm fireplace dissipates. Panning across the city, we see walking down the cobbled streets into a much more brighter and picturesque, with natural, magically enchanted trees decorating the streets in areas. As you can see, a more upbeat and more floral with colourful paints going on the walls of these buildings. This is the more amusement side of the artisan's tier. On here you can see public fountains with gold statues, one of which is a large scaled up golden statue with the waterfall with the hands coming out of it, with an individual raised up, and you can see a pope-like figure in its decorative. There is a plaque at the front that onlookers would just simply read Pope Varney, last of his name. At the Varney fountain, just passing it, as a little bit of wind blows through her hair. Sort of potentially, I don't know if you would be dipping your toes into the fountain itself. Alex, could you please describe your character?
Not toes, but definitely fingers, because that would be a fun little thing to do. Well, my character looks like a moon half elf right now. She has kind of darkish bluish skin, okay, and like light white hair. She is like sort of ethereal looking. She doesn't really look like she belongs in this city. She does wear chainmail, along with some metal pads that are metal pauldrons, and also a sort of belt around just sort of like where the Empire waist would go on a dress. So those are more heavy metal, but other than that, it's a soft chainmail armor that she wears. It's all silvery and white. The decorations on the armor are butterflies and ladybugs, and also like star symbols and also little circles here and there, just to give it a more whimsical look. She also has a shield with the same kind of emblazoned symbols, and she definitely wants to touch the water. If there are any flowers nearby, she'd interact with them because she knows she makes them bloom.
Yep,
So she's going
absolutely.
to have that happen, and she just makes everything bloom around her in this particular location that she's in. And that's about it, I guess.
A couple of the small flower beds sort of vibrantly expand their petals, grow a little bit larger than natural, themselves already magically enchanted, for most people know that nature has had it hard since the ruination, and most wildlife of nature's gift would require some kind of magical assistance in order to bloom since the Battle of Ruination. Although with that, they grow a slightly lighter blue from their already reddish purple colour. And outside, you realize, looking up, you find yourself at this strange looking building. If you were to cross a wonderfully looking carpet sales frontage with some kind of hospital tacked onto the side, it seems to have two entry points. One with this well drawn out red carpet on the public street, and a sign hanging out the top which reads the Comporium. The other entrance are more smaller. Instead of a sign hanging out the side of the building hanging down, just a plaque on the wall that just says theatre.
Okay. It seems interesting. I'm not sure exactly what it is. Can I ask somebody around the street what this building is?
Sure, a commoner just comes up to you, a small sort of human lady, just sort of gives you a little smirk and is like, well, you must be new around here. If you've not been to the Comporium, then obviously not had a good time, really.
Oh, I don't know about that. Um, so what is it?
It's a house of pleasure.
Oh, I see. Go.
It's to mend wounds, next door to the medical theatre. See, it mends all types of wounds.
It's a healing house,
The
and
theatre is, yes, and the Comporium is for healing wounds that can't be mended with magical spells and ailments.
okay. She doesn't entirely understand what this woman is saying, but she's like intrigued enough to try to interact with the place herself now.
Okay,
So yeah, she's going to finish the conversation, and after that, she'll go to the theater part of it, I suppose.
okay. As you sort of walk by, you sort of glance and you hear behind your breath, just like, "Oh, sweet summer child," tutting to herself. As you enter into the theatre, stepping inside as the door closes behind you, you are in a low lit chamber where you can just see. It's as if you just walked into some kind of hospital bed room. You can see rows and rows of, at this moment, empty beds, but you can see a general receptionist-like desk with a individual sat behind it who's paying you no attention and is currently sort of doing some kind of manicure on the nails.
I approached the lady, and I'm just, is this a place that ever requires help from the outside?
She, without looking up, and you see this individual, she's got a bit of dark skin, she's got red flowing hair over the back of it. Looks sort of human, but it's a strange side profile that you've got, as she's not paying you direct attention, but just looks up and says, "Well, we're always in need of new healing hands. Is that the kind of thing that you can offer?"
To some degree, yes.
She sort of slowly turns and gives you like this look of, uh-huh. So what's your experience, young one then?
I'm a healer. I hate seeing people suffer, and I want to help whenever I can.
I see. Well, someone with your looks, perhaps you might be better suited next door.
Hey, that's a little rude.
Well, if you're really interested, I can call the head physician. He might be back off his lunch.
I can wait. Should I? Are you saying I should go next door too? I mean, I understand it's kind of one building, but it just seemed like this place would be more in tune with my abilities.
Well, fortunately, with the successful bounties and the magics bestowed upon us, we have very few people coming to the theatre in need of medical assistance these days. But should someone sprain an ankle, and break a bone, or come back from the Adventurers Guild with one or two pieces missing, that's when we're really useful.
Makes sense. How do you deal with all this? There are so many people who come here looking for succor and help, and isn't it
Oh,
rushed
mad,
sometimes?
mad busy as you can see. And you'd look around, there's not a single bed occupied at the moment.
Ah, okay. Okay. So I guess you need to wait for more tumultuous times to really get that busy.
Oh, I'm only paid per the day, whether there's 100 people in or not. Suits me when there's none.
I see. Very well. Uh, Out of curiosity, she is gonna wander to the other part of the building as well, but she also wants to meet like the head person that this person mentioned.
The
So
physician.
which
Okay.
whatever the physician, yeah. So let's say she goes for the physician to meet the physician first.
Okay. So
Mhm.
she sort of sighs and belligerently stands up, and you can see that as she walks with a very noticeable hobble, and she
Mhm.
disappears around the corner and pulls a curtain to aside, and you can hear a low conversation that's been uttered. Returning from the curtain is a short, rather rotund individual. This is a human male with a set of spectacles, half-shaped moon, resting on the end of his nose. Has a nice, well-kept, but also scraggly beard that goes down up to the top of the chest, and long flowing white hair. And he walks with a brisk walk, someone that you didn't expect with his stature, and just sort of rambles up to you. And as he sizes up to you, he's no more than sort of 5'2" in height. He just looks up to you and says, uh, "Artemis Treebear, head physician. I believe you've got some experience with healing powers.
Mhm.
Are you looking for commission, contracted work, or permanency role?"
Which kind do you particularly need right now?
Well, probably contract would be good if you're a resident of the city, or at least, well, you look fairly new if you don't mind me saying. But as you can see at the moment, we've not got a great deal of work on. Although we do expect, with in the coming weeks, with the celebrations to come into full swing, there'll always be a bit of a ruckus, people drinking things they shouldn't be, and needing immediate assistance, etc. So we do expect to get busy in a couple of weeks.
Mhm. I can try to come by and help.
Very well. Well, all you'll need when you come back is one of these, and he goes behind the receptionist counter and pulls out, rummages through a drawer, and gives you a small little pin. And on the pin, you can just see it's a gold coin in the shape of a heart.
Mm-hmm. Good.
And he just simply says, if the time is too busy, you walk in with one of those, you will be recognized as staff here.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
And what is it about the other part of this establishment?
A little bit red comes through on the cheeks, and he just sort of says, I naturally wouldn't know too much about it, but
I'm
we
just
we
confused by how it ended up being one thing. This seems like two very different things.
well, it's more medicine can fix certain things, but other wounds need other types of healing.
She kind of feels a little bit lost in thought, like, I didn't think of it that way. Just kind of sits there for a moment, a little bit dumbfounded. But okay. Hmm.
But don't worry, our wounds are magically soundproof, so don't worry too much about that. There's always a good night's sleep here. I've had a few myself.
Nice, thank you. I'll come by if you find any way of getting notice to me. I'm staying at the inn.
Um,
An inn,
what
right?
was your name? I would send a sending spell to you.
Ariel.
Ariel. Okay. A surname?
Hmm?
A surname? I would need your full name for the spell.
They call me Ariella Zingara.
Oh, that's quite a mouthful. And he gets you to write it down for him, and
Here you go. And I write it in the very beautiful cursive script with like elven influences.
wonderful. He says, right, well, I best get back to my work. I was middle of studying something. But thank you for dropping by.
Yes.
Receptionist comes back out, and she's got a cup of tea in hand, and she pours one for the head physician. Looks to you. You staying? You going?
I'm exploring for now, but
Uh,
I'll have a cup of tea if you want to share.
okay.
We can talk a little if you want.
So, as you settle down, you have a general conversation. We will move over to the outskirts of the exterior of the Golden Keep. As it is sort of approaching midday, the sun approaching just the midpoint in the sky, overlooking from the northeast of the city, on a small hill just at the foot of the rolling mountain ranges to the north of the Golden Keep. We have the remains of a small, smouldering campfire, a small little makeshift prop tent, and a cauldron bubbling away with some kind of wondrous smells. Pepine, would you like to introduce your character on the outskirts of the city?
My character is Thor Ren. He's a rugged dwarf standing at roughly 4'7", weighing in around a respectable 165 pounds, with a thick but a well-kept deep brown beard with this loose ends sort of tied together with some leather homemade straps. He wears a combination of brown leather armor lined with some steel scales, strips, and plates sticked around. He doesn't wear a helmet, but he has a dark brown leather and cloth hood and cloak combination that he uses for polar weather conditions. At his side, notably a fairly large blunderbuss. Um, and another thing that you would immediately notice is a large dwarf steel wok, which is currently holding the food he's preparing. Normally, that would sit on his back, where you would find his backpack in between Thorbrand himself and his wok pen, which is where he stores a small hand pickaxe and all the other traveling necessities and ingredients that he uses for his cooking. At his waist, a thick and wide leather belt held together by a large metal buckle lined with all kinds of pouches for ammo, potions, bits and bobs, as well as a foresting hand axe and his trusty dwarf steel chef knife, sheathed in a basic but beautiful leather sheath.
As the sun is sort of getting higher in the sky, you realize that with a small appointment you had with one of your gnomish friends was probably about an hour ago that you may have forgotten about. As you continue with your cooking, or do you wrap up and make your way into town?
Hmm. What's the status of the food?
It's probably 3/4 of the way through being prepared. You can roll a d6 for me and I'll tell you what it is.
A D6? That's a 5.
5. That will be a large mountain squirrel that you caught yesterday.
Ah, I can't waste a good meal like that. I'm
Fair enough.
already an hour late. He can wait. He can wait another 30 minutes.
It's
Fair enough.
okay.
So,
The food needs it.
okay then. Um, as you are enjoying your meal, preparation comes to, you start to tuck in. You do have the opportunity to make a perception check with advantage for me.
Oh, wow. Would you look at that?
Okay,
Whoa.
It's 11.
it's 11. Um, as the sun is reaching that point now in the sky, it starts to glare off the keep at the very top of the citadel, and you can see pretty much all of the northern barrier of the exterior wall. And you do sort of spot that outside of a large set of exterior city gates, just one of the two double gates opens. You see a small convoy of individuals walking on by. You count whilst you're eating and tucking in a dozen, 2 dozen, maybe 3 dozen in total. Silhouettes that begin making their way out of the city, following the well-trodden line of the city wall itself as they head around towards what you would know is the Skyship docks.
Was I outside the walls?
Yes, yeah,
Right. And they just left the gates to also go outside the walls towards the city gate, the city docks.
yes.
Hmm.
They
Do I
looked.
recognize what they are? What kind of
You're
group they are?
probably a couple of hundred feet away from them on top of this hill outlook that you've got. Unfortunately, the roll wasn't quite good enough for you to make out more, but you get with the instance of the speed at which they're moving that they are all carrying various items. They look burdened, laboured in their movement. It's not just a brisk walk. There's lots of things being conveyed in this group of people.
Hmm. Well, I just shrug and I continue eating my soup.
No problem then. As we flip on over into the back of that very group of individuals making their way out of the gates, Aaron, would you like to describe your character and how it looks?
Oh.
This is kind of like a broad hill dwarf, medium build, quite short for a hill dwarf, but he's got long, flowing white hair with a long white beard, with a religious symbol tying his beard together down the centre. You notice there's a tattoo on his neck of a crescent and a star that's just purple, kind of fluid emotion, and he's clutching onto a book, which is his last holy symbol of his village from Nuertha.
Okay. For you, you hear this shout at the front of the column as the convoy of dwarves, gnome, and hired mercenary men are making their way to the docks themselves, carrying an inventory of fresh produce and items of immense value to begin a trading expedition to leave for the shores of the Iron Dominion. In terms of the name, you know this to be Thomas Axehead. He is also a hill dwarf, short of stature, and he is the head of the expedition. He shouts to the back as he knows you're bringing up the rear of this convoy. Voldret, we're missing anyone?
They're all here. Start off to yell, dear.
So good run. You got me with that one. Good. Right, that's 34, 5, and 6 as you walk past and he counts you all and he says, right. Look sharp. The Golden Dawn awaits you all. However, I have a special request for 4 volunteers. Well volunteered, Voldreth. 3 other volunteers. A couple of hands go up. A few shaken faces, a few bit confused. Eventually, the 4 of you are mustered. And Thomas turns and looks to you and says, I have a special task for you guys. You see, unfortunately, when we booked tickets aboard the Golden Dawn, we only had 30. As you can see, there's 36 here. Myself won't be going anyway. So, is there any one of you who objects to not going on this adventure?
I've done enough in my lifetime.
As the other 3 individuals sort of look back and say, well, I could be persuaded in the combination of back and forth, and eventually one of them scurries over and changes places and another one comes back. So 30 of the brigade are welcomed aboard the skyship the Golden Dawn. As the inventory is taken, the ship is boarded, and the side of the ship that you can see as you're sort of standing on the outside of the city walls, but you've got a full side view of the extremely long skyship itself. The skyship probably 300-400 feet in length, at least 200 feet in depth of the belly of its bow to the top of its cabin on its deck. And this wonderful, elegant, carved-looking eagle's head at the front of it. As you sort of look out, you realize there's a sort of a bit of feeling of missed opportunity, but also this sort of little bit of excitement of now, just as you always feel with uncertainty presents itself with new opportunities, but also you really weren't looking forward to that week's flight on that ship to get to the Iron Dominion. And so as Thomas turns to you and says, right, anyone for a round at the Adventurers Guild? First round's on me.
Oh, go on then.
Right. As Torbjorn, by the time you finish your meal, you watch as a small group of what you can see is to be at least 3 dwarves and 1 human are making their way back along the silhouette of the wall line as you've wrapped up and finished your meal. Do you look to pursue towards after them or not?
Yes, yeah. I will grab my walk. I'll pack my bag, put my walk back on top of it, and I will make my way towards the city where I'm headed anyway. And see what the other dwarves are on about.
Okay. As you sort of, at a bit of a brisk pace and perhaps a sprint for the odd halfling, you bumble your way down the hill, sort of shout to hold the gate as just before it closes. Voldreth, you hear behind you this dwarf bellowing out to hold the gate.
Oh, hold the gate! I don't want to miss the gate
got a
close.
strangler.
As the gate is held open, the 2 of you are ushered in, and you get some very, very frown-looking gold cloaks who are looking down to you. The gold cloaks, by the way, are a more elite set of the gold keepers. They specifically man the gates. The gold keepers are more the town's militia that you'll see throughout. The gold cloaks actually man all the gatehouses throughout the city. So the gold cloaks sort of tut. Typical dwarves, never on time. Utter.
Oh, we're not a demon, are we? Calm your pants.
I don't know this guy. Don't punch me in with him.
Sure. As the keepers move on, go back to their stations. So, as you find yourselves in the end of the district of the artisan layer, you find yourself walking in the general direction of the Adventurers Guild. Is there anything that you would wish to converse with this new strange company that you find?
Oh, Thomas, we got an extra. How are you doing there?
Oh, it's a pleasure meeting you. What are you doing here?
I'm trying to find a new home, me.
A new home?
Yeah. Supposed to go on that ship.
Oh.
It's something to do.
Don't worry about it, don't worry.
Have you ever been on an airship before?
No.
Oh. Well, you didn't miss out. It's not the greatest thing for us shore folk.
Do they have booze?
Depends who you're going with. I suggest bringing your own.
Oh, sucks all out. Thomas.
I'm sure took a toll on you, hasn't it?
Thomas sort of turns around and just like, could someone just pat Voldreth on the back, please? Get that thing out of his throat.
Oh, no, dude. You know, you wouldn't say that back in our town when I was telling you the stories of Serene, would you now?
Oh, yeah. Flipping Serene. Look, just because you were one of them old folk, and at this point, Torbjorn, you realise that this Thomas individual is a dwarf himself, although incredibly obvious young individual, probably not even like classed as finished adolescence, certainly not even 100 years old. As he sort of is passing and rolling his eyes over, he's like, yeah, you and that flipping Knights of the Holy Order and all that stuff, you know, the Crusades and all. Old wise tales. I'm not buying this one a drink, he's not part of the cause, you know.
Come on. What's one drink?
One drink's 1 silver, I'm not paying it.
I'll get it then, you stingy bastard.
So, as
Don't feel obliged to buy me a drink. I just have my own soup.
great stuff. As we sort of pan back to Ariel, as you sort of finish your conversation, as you're leaving the initial theatre itself, and you're faced with the opportunity of sort of exploring more about the town, perhaps exploring the Comporium, this ragtagged group of now 4 dwarfs and a human male go walking past, having this rather loud conversation about drinking beer and heading towards the Adventurers Guild. What do you do?
I think they're interesting enough to want to follow them, but I will follow from some ways away. And I'm just curious where they're going. I guess I can hear from their conversation that they're heading
Yes,
to the
they're not
Adventurers
being
Guild.
quiet.
Okay. So I'm just gonna head in that direction myself, but I'm gonna give myself some space to get there. I won't try to follow them closely or whatever. I'll just note where they're going and slowly go on that way myself.
Okay.
Because it seems like a good location to end up in. Because I am looking for some sort of purpose here. So,
Okay.
yeah.
What is this DM we have? as this convoy makes its way, sort of a little dwarven chant that starts going on, led by Thomas. It's more of a, to those
Diggy diggy hole.
unaffiliated in the Dawi language, the dwarf, some of the most guttural and earthly sounding words and dialect. But to the dwarves, you all know this song. You would know this to be a iteration of when the dwarf. Sorry. Why am I blanking? Why am I blanking? You would know this to be an iteration of when the dwarfs run low. And this particular ballad is of hope and adventure and uncertainty. Usually in the pursuit of getting blind drunk. So, as this dwarven chorus is going throughout the streets, as you weave your way through out of the wonderfully multicolored part of the artisan tier and more into the more rural and more urban and purpose-built areas, you can see the roaring smoke of the forges towards the back behind the next streets over. You can hear the bustling marketplaces where goods and commerce are clearly exchanging throughout this tier, and you general have this sort of fine midweek, just busy atmosphere to this city life. As you're undergoing, Lothar, as you step out of the Adventurers Guild to get some fresh air after Boris has spilt yet another tankard of beer all over the worktop itself, what you see approaching this convoy of estranged individuals, dwarvish in nature, raucously singing this dwarven enchant. What do you do?
That's a lot of dwarves, he says, smiling and lighting himself another pipe while still looking at the sheet of paper with the poorly written bounty on it. And slowly starts, making his way towards where the group is coming from, heading
Okay.
towards the pleasure house.
Okay, well, that'd be back on the other side where the group's already been. But sure.
I think he's just trying to close the gap, from what I understand.
Okay.
Yeah, pretty much.
Sure. Okay. So as you approach the party, Thomas, the dwarf at the front, sort of immediately clocks you. This individual seems to be the most alert of the batch. Stops his singing immediately, glances you up and down, makes his insight check. Okay. Sort of raises a hand up and, what can I do you for, stranger?
He was a little bit lost in thought, and he blinks, a little bit confused, then looks at the dwarf and, well, not much, I'm afraid, unless you have, I don't know, maybe 50 more of your brethren armed to the teeth.
Huh. What on earth do you need 50 dwarves for? Unless you're opening up the Earth Forge again.
Let's just say somebody is trying to make me slay a young drake. And I know dwarves and dwarven phalanxes are good for it.
Sort of seems to think of this as nothing more than a joke as he begins to walk on by you.
And he, in an attempt to prove that I'm actually half serious about this, he shows the parchment. Only half joking.
I will scurry to the side and sort of glance at the papers. Like, did you mention a drake?
At least I think it's a drake. Because nobody's going to offer 200 gold for a dragon.
Who cares about gold? Do you know what the true treasure is of a drake?
Tails? Tongue? Eyes? Ask 10 different
uneducated.
people and they're named 10 different things.
No. The true treasures of the world are the flavors of everything. Have you ever had a dragon or a drake flank? It's perfect to make a stew.
And he just shakes his head. The things you people do to just get rid of conjured food taste. What does it taste like nowadays?
At this
Ah,
point,
that-
hearing the food, I like Perko going,
Food. I'm in.
And the most easy to persuade character of the party has been revealed.
He's basically saying,
We've been living off conjured food for the past week.
Oh,
He looks at the older dwarf. I'm assuming he's older by the way he
yeah,
talks.
yeah.
Yeah.
And there's a sly, bit mischievous grin drawing on his lips. Reaches into one of his pouches and pulls out a paper-wrapped strip of jerky. Just hands it to the older dwarf.
I'll take
Here,
that.
try that. Should you taste it, it actually tastes like flavorful, salty jerky.
Oh, I've not had this in a long time.
Well,
He just nods on it.
there's
And
there's
he
still
nods
parts of the
Tom's.
world where people eat actual food. So wait, and he looks at the other dwarf. I'm assuming he's a dwarf, right? Horns.
Yes.
Okay, he looks at the other dwarf. So let me get this straight. You want to go on a drake hunt so you can eat it.
What else?
Thomas just shouts, "Are you going to catch a grizzly one?" First round's on me. Not waiting for any stragglers. He runs into the Adventurers Guild with the other two dwarves in flow. However, Torbjorn and Voldreth stay with you.
So do any of you know anything about hunting drakes?
Well, I might at least know how to track one. Taking it down might be the challenge, but
I've never hunted one myself.
there's no reward without a proper challenge, right? Just imagine the exotic taste of a once-in-a-lifetime catch that you may have never tasted before and may never taste again. What more could you want? 1,000 gold couldn't buy that.
Good cut of beef, actually.
Ah, beef. You people from the Iron Dominion and your beef. I've had my fill
Good.
of beef. Beef is
There's
no
no-
better than that conjured chicken-flavored garbage that they eat everywhere.
Them's fighting words, Master Dwarf, and he laughs.
Ah, if you want some proper chicken, try an abyssal chicken. You have to catch it yourself, though.
A cockatrice.
Well, clearly you have no knowledge of proper food if all you eat is beef. So,
All you
What
eat is
about
beef. Do you have any
squirrels?
idea? Do you have any idea just how many ways to properly cook beef there are, Master Dwarf?
I've spent too many years in the Iron Dominion before I left. I've tried them all.
Iron Dominion. Where in the Iron Dominion?
Oh god, you're gonna give me.
Hang on a minute. Hang on.
My frog.
Hang on. You would have been to Blackstone and Spearfall from your
Spearfall.
journey. Yeah, Blackstone and Spearfall.
Right.
And he laughs at that. Just when I thought the world couldn't get any smaller, here it is. I'm from Spearfall, Master Dwarf.
Well, I only went there because I had nowhere else to go after some disaster just happened to destroy what I would call my home. Be happy you have yours.
Goes thoughtful for a bit. Then brushes the topic aside. Just goes with a half bitter. Yeah. Well,
Anyway, stories are better shared over a meal. How about we take on that little Drake thing of yours? You can keep the gold.
There's a very peculiar look on his face. It quickly grows into a, you know what? Just why the hell's not? I have a small delivery to make. At the, there's this building next to the House of Healing, where I know someone. I'm just going to drop something off really quick, and
No, right.
then we can fetch a tavern and you know what? Actually plan this. I'm short on gold, and I don't want to share them with the vultures at the Adventurers Guild.
Now, do you see that little? Well, was Thomas a human or was he also a dwarf?
He was a dwarf. He was a young dwarf.
Do you see that young dwarf over there? We might need him though. We are gonna need some form of bait if we are going to take on a Drake. And I look over at Voldred and don't worry, he's not gonna get harmed.
I've got me book.
Well,
Have you heard of the Lord and Saviour Jehovah Dwarf Witnesses?
What is that book
when he says
supposed to
that,
do
he
to a
clutches it
Drake?
closer to his chest.
What is that book? Fireproof?
It's me holy symbol. The last part of the Avatar from Dunbar.
Is that something I would know something about?
That's a very tall statement to say it's the last part of the Avatar, because you only know of one thing referred to as the Avatar, and that would be the Avatar as Moradin, which was raised and bested at the Battle of Ruination.
All right. Well, that book better have some powers actually related to him.
Well, that's what I'm trying to learn.
I just facepalm. It's like, Have you had any
This
hardship
way.
in your life, or are you just?
Yes. Dunbar was destroyed in this ruination. Me and Thomas were the last few remaining dwarfs of my home.
Were you there at the ruination?
I was just a wee child.
A child
old are
in dwarf does so.
Yeah.
Child in dwarf is like first 75 years kind of thing.
Yeah.
A old
140 something.
So you're the back end of an adolescent now, but dwarves would go up to like 400 is a good innings. 450 is like really old.
Oh, okay.
But
300 or something.
Yeah.
Lothar would just whistle at at the mention of the age.
Don't worry, there's still life in me. You got it, Nick. I'll heal you. Don't you worry.
Well, you sound like a little wind blow would just knock you right over.
Johnny, you scum.
I give him a little tap on the shoulder just to see what happens.
Well, I'll give you this. You're not much different from the dwarves I knew in the Iron Dominion, so
What is that supposed to
particularly
mean?
exactly what it means. You're not different from dwarves I know from the Iron Dominion.
Can the three of you make a perception check, please?
Wait.
Rolling 1d29. I like it.
Rolling a d29.
What the hell?
Okay, with a 24, Torbrun, you would notice that whilst you've been having this conversation, you're pretty perceptive about your surroundings. This slightly blue-skinned elf lady has been stood across the street, sort
I'm
of
just watching.
just not really moving on, not going on, just sort of not making direct contact, not staring at you, but like clearly attempting to listen to what's being said. The other two roles, unfortunately, you're more interested in trying to figure out what meant by sorry, what was meant by Solo's last conversation. You're just like all the other dwarfs.
I'll glance over to the table and I will go up to her. It's like,
Okay, as you cross the
so
street.
what do you? Oh, she's across the street.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
I will go up to her.
So just to explain, you guys didn't even make it inside the Adventurers Guild just yet. You guys are still like
All right.
at the
Yeah,
front door.
on the street.
You've
Yeah.
got the bounty board to the right of you. You've got the big banner above you saying celebrating 100 years, and you've just got the windows open with the singing that's coming out from the bards playing inside that you can hear, and a general ruckus. But that's otherwise you're on the street.
All right. I will move over to her. One moment. She's eyeing us down. I'll move over. Do you know anything about taking down the Drake?
What an opening question!
You seem very interested in us. I have a
Uh,
proposition.
what is the proposition?
You help us take down the Drake, assuming you know anything about it. Clearly, you seemed interested. And in return, I'll cook us a meal, and we can share in some delightful stories while we
That
relish
doesn't
in
sound bad at
the Drake.
all. Um, yes. I don't. I've never taken down a drake before, but I
Well,
would like
great,
to
then you
try
can
for
also
sure.
serve us bait.
Oh, shut up! That's so crude.
Don't worry, I've
I
done this before.
No, that will not
I'm,
happen. I'm more careful than that.
I'm just joking.
Very well.
While,
Well,
while the conversation is happening, I nudge Solotha and go,
He's trying to get in there, isn't he?
yeah.
I'm not sure dwarves and elves get along that well.
It might have been a
I mean,
while.
she's an elf, right? Elves, never seen one. Elves are blue. Nobody told me elves are
She's
blue
a
to
half
begin with.
elf. A moon half elf.
Hmm.
Whatever. It doesn't really matter.
So what is it that made your skin blue? I don't think I've seen a pointy-eared leaf larva like you before.
I spent a long time in the Fey realm.
Would I know anything about that?
Um, roll a nature check.
Oh. Um, nature.
Ooh.
13.
It's something that you know of the general knowledge is it's one of the realms of existence, materiality planes. One of the gods was banished there at the battle after the Battle of Ruination. However, you wouldn't know anything other than it would be sort of like a dream for you to go hunting there because it's more magic, wild creatures running wild in just the order of natural food chain, etc., with absolute enchanted chaos playing at the same time. And it's this hunter's paradise, yet peril at the same time. Um, it's typically frowned upon, certainly, to take that approach because going into the Fey realm has massive problems, though you're not quite sure what they are because the only things you've heard about would be it's just a very dangerous place.
Alright. The Fey Realm? What is the most interesting flavor that the Fey Realm has? I need to know.
Flavor.
Flavor, ingredients.
Oh my goodness. I don't know.
What is your favorite food from the Fey Realm?
I like the honey there.
Does it taste different from the honey we have here?
Yeah, Very.
I will grab a little book out of the bottom of my backpack. I will open it and I will start scribbling in things. And I will close it. I will be distracted for like a solid half minute while I completely ignore anything you say. Just farewell, honey.
Viral.
As the group sort of bustles its way eventually into the Adventurers Guild, Thomas has already bought a round, and you can already see that one of the human of that group has managed to already get himself into an arm wrestle with Boris. And you can see that there's just around the table just like a chant going on, like Boris, 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 go on T, go on T, go on T.
He always loses. Don't put money on him.
And with that, there's just this ruckus as you see as the one of the eyes from Boris clocks you, Lothar, as you enter in. A little bit of a smile creeps in, and without looking, he just instantly wins the duel as if he now decides to put the effort in. I was like, oh, it was so close. And you can just see that gold being exchanged as a bit of a betting ring has gone on.
Tell a heads up next time so I can put some gold on as well. Lizard skin. He says, smiling as he passes by.
So, on the interior side of the Adventurers Guild, as you walk in, almost like a entrance, little column on the as you enter into the building itself, there is a board, and this is sort of like a jobs board with bounties listed, dates, times, locations, and gold value. And you can see that there's sort of this like feather pinned to various of the bounties. Lothar, you would be aware that if there's a feather pinned, it means there is a Adventurers Guild party that has been dispatched to tackle the or attempt to retrieve the bounty. The feather is coated in a slight gold color. It means it's been confirmed as successful and is on the way back. If it's dipped in a red paint, then it means it's unsuccessful and the bounty is to be restored and renewed. Someone else can go and try it. But on there's a couple of bounties. You can make an investigation check if you wish to inquire.
And while he does look at the bounties, he also explains to his now new companions what the board and the feathers mean.
What do they mean?
So there's some with feathers sticking out. If it's a golden feather, it means they've had confirmation that the bounty's been successfully completed and the Adventurers Guild party is on the way back to claim the gold. If there is a feather with a red tip or red plumage, then that has been an unsuccessful bounty and the status of the group is unknown. So if someone else can come and claim it, but the reason why it's got a red tip and not removed is to say this is potentially a challenge. You know, something has gone wrong. Someone else has gone after them, so it's as much a retrieval operation as it is a general bounty.
And Lothar does look to see if there are any unclaimed bounties that might be easier. Garner some coins. He rolled a 10 on investigation.
On a 10, there is a small collection. You can see it's 50 gold pieces. It's a missing peoples looking for a group of adventurers to help investigate missing individuals at the town of Myrefall. That's Myrefall. You would know Myrefall Torborn to be the nearest town north of the Golden Keep. In fact, it's where you've just spent the last sort of couple of weeks adventuring around, basically, at the exterior of the city. You will also find with a 10, you find one more, which is a call to arms, which is just a general. This one looks like it's been on the board for a very long time. It's a general mustering and enlisting into the Golden Keep militia. And you can see that it's there with 50 silver pieces per day salary, minimum conscription of 2 years.
Any of you want to enlist into the, well, whatever passes for this city's militia? No? Oh,
No.
and this is
Have you
out.
ever seen the people of the militia eat a proper meal here? No, of
Uh,
course you haven't.
I don't think I've seen almost anyone eat a proper meal in this city.
Exactly.
You know, for
Sometimes I wonder why I'm even here. But
the
I
amount
could
of
admit,
taxes these people pay, their food is horrible. Why do they even pay it?
your guess is as good as any.
Yeah, well,
Anyway, I would like to very quickly skim over the bounties and ignore everything except for anything that might be related to animals or monsters.
You can make an investigation check with disadvantage.
All right. That's a 9.
Okay. With a 9, you can see that there is currently one red feather in a bounty collection. This is something that, as you sort of obviously walk over to the board, you sort of immediately pull. In order to get to the bounty, you have to pull the red feather off the board, and as you do, a voice from behind the bar says, please don't mess with the bounty board unless you intend to undertake any of the contracts."
I can't read any of it if you put the feather in front of the damn bounty.
"Which bounty are you interested in?"
Well, I was looking at this one, but I couldn't read it. That's why I removed the feather.
"I see. Put it back in and come over here. I've got another copy here." And you see
Alright.
him, the barkeep just tucked below. You would know this barkeep to be Anders, Lothar. As Anders bends down, rummages through this box, and you just see parchment after parchment just going. He pulls up a parchment, rolls it out flat, and it's sort of a pristine issue. On this is a simple wanted, dead, 250 gold pieces, alive 1,000 gold pieces. This doesn't quite match what you were hoping for, but this is a rather crude drawing of some kind of demonish fiend, and it's just got a weird scrawling underneath it that Anders just simply crosses out in pen and goes, "Oh, what was it called? What was it called? Yes, Firetail." This has been patrolling sort of northwest of here and disrupting quite a bit of the smaller towns outside of the city's keep. So it's been this legendary thing that's come to a bit of a rise at the moment. I think 2 groups have been dispatched. We're hoping the second one to reply soon.
brigands this close and the Golden Keep isn't doing anything about them themselves?
Well, that's what we're here for.
I would
Oh,
assume the militia is only for internal defense and
Civil unrest and
law.
more of a ceremonial purpose at the moment, yes.
of course.
A fire tail,
Outsource
you
ups.
say? Would I know anything about a fire tail?
You
that I-
would get the impression that the drawing this is the name of that creature. This looks like some kind of demon spawn that you're just sort of not familiar with at this moment. It's sort of large, got 3 bulbous limbs, and it's sort of like got short, stumpy legs, and just a weird circular jaw for a face.
Would Lothar recognize it as anything?
You can make a history roll.
See if I do not. So let's see. 13.
15. Okay. You would look like this is one gargantuan, fat and well-fed abyssal scavenger.
Okay. Oh, this is what I think it is. We're going to need proper armaments to take it on.
I haven't tried this before.
This is. You don't want to eat this, trust me. There
do
is
you
no
mean?
amount of cooking or dressing that's ever going to get to.
Oh,
get
see,
the
this is
taint
why
out
you
of demon
people of the
flesh.
Iron Dominion are so boring. All you eat is
Yeah,
beef
we
because
would-
it's easy to take down.
We would rather not die after eating stuff. Pretty sure it's sensible everywhere else as well.
Well, the
You
master
weak-stomached
here is still
individual.
alive.
I'm pretty sure he hasn't eaten demon flesh.
He seems extremely willing to try things, which makes me think he may have.
You can make an inside track, Lothar, if you want to double check that.
Yeah, he is going to, look the dwarf up and down and go, he hasn't eaten demon flesh.
Sure,
Has he?
without saying
Three.
without saying
More than three, I'm
which.
pretty sure.
Oh right, okay. So just roll a d20, because if you beat a 3, it's irrelevant. But normally, what I would do is saying without saying if you are attempting to deceive or persuade, roll a d20 and let us know the verdict with the one you're using. So you rolled an 8. So he looks. How would you be wishing to portray that you have experienced it, or that you're just eager to do so? Because that will be what Lothar believes.
I will tell him I've eaten a demon before.
Okay.
Remind me exactly how demons are for you, because you sort of swap them around.
Demons and fiends are the same. It's just
Right.
all demons are fiends.
Right. An abyssal chicken is a demon then, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Didn't I just tell you about an abyssal chicken? I'm not saying that's difficult to take down. Now, I haven't told you about the hellhounds, but I thought the abyssal chicken would be a better starting point for you weak-stomached individuals.
Can I insight that?
Sure. Go ahead.
Lothar just
inside.
looks at him, a little bit dumbstruck at first,
Lol.
scratches at his chin, then smiles and slowly starts to laugh.
Yeah, for Voldred, you
Well,
believe what I'm saying.
so Pepine, when they roll insight against you, and you either roll deception or persuasion.
Oh, okay.
But
can I
if you
just take
but
the other modifier?
you can just roll a d20 and tell us what the result is, because if you click which one, we'll see which it is. So
Yeah, it would be a 19 on a base roll
okay.
if you remove the modifier.
Okay, so what does Voldrith read into it? And the Hellhounds. He didn't believe your roll, so
my enthusiasm would make you firmly, well, maybe somewhat doubtedly, but you would believe what I'm saying. You would more be doubting how the hell that would be achieved, but you're not necessarily doubting the truth of the matter.
okay. Anders is just sort of watching this and is like, if you found yourself here, then Lothar, you're a bunch of weirdos, if you ask me. Although, as his eyes sort of linger on Ariel a little bit, everyone's welcome.
Say again, Idris?
They're not weirder than the last batch. 4 of them without any teeth, either.
Well, if you found yourself a new group, then you know the rules. We need a group name so we can dispatch you.
Well, how would this compare to a drake? Clearly, you have some knowledge of this firetail thing.
Well,
What would you choose? Would you choose to take on a drake or a firetail?
I think you may have missed the part that this may be a bit out of your realm of expertise for now. It's
I wouldn't
250
rush
gold dead, 1,000 gold alive.
There is no bringing this back alive. So you tell whichever alchemist wants bits of it harvested alive that he's not getting it.
Look, Juno
Might as
wants
well
what he
just-
wants. I'm just here to offer opportunities for those to go and obtain it for him.
Yeah, but you do know you're going to run into idiots who are going to actually try to capture the thing, right? And bring it back.
Well, that's why we do categorize these things, and politely, with all due respect, I think this one might be a little bit out of your league as a first errand.
Oh,
I will sort of, I will lean over the counter and get close to Anders, and I will, close to his ear, I will faintly tell him, but what about a mountaineer?
You can make a persuasion roll.
Is he a human?
He looks human.
Alright, he might not even know what a mountaineer is, but we'll see.
This
Persuasion, you said,
This
right?
is a very well informed individual and
Alright,
a leader
11.
of the Adventurers Guild.
Alright, 11.
With an 11, he's going to make an insight on that. He looks you up and says, maybe once. Don't doubt that. But perhaps you should get a couple of bounties under your belt first.
I agree with Anders on this. I'm not gonna go rushing after a fiend without I don't know, at least the Brotherhood of Knights on my side. And no offense to you, Master Dwarf. And he looks at the elf. Didn't quite catch your name, miss.
I'm Ariel.
Well, none of you look like fully armed Order Knights. So, well, I don't know. We'll decide on a group, on a name, Anders, and once we actually go after a bounty, we'll let you know, alright?
I've got to put a name on the board before I'm dispatched.
Well, let's see which ones we go after first. And he's been eyeing the one about missing people for a while talking. This one's light on details and vaguely concerning. Anders.
Yeah, I didn't get too much about it. Could have been a cave-in, mine collapsing. Could also just be people messing around after nightfall and falling off a cliff. You never know. Just word on the grapevine. Half a dozen people or so missing. Came
Well,
in 2 weeks ago, I think.
Now, I'm not saying we're not going to go after the Drake so you can have your Drake meat souffle or whatever it is you want to make, Master Dwarf. But I think this one would be a better start. And
I'll back to Reb Sidis then for the time being.
we
I
might
have
as
a
well
couple of
actually-
years left. I've waited long enough to try new things. I could
Are
wait a
these-
little longer.
Are these
But don't you
bounties
dare run on me.
Go on, Mala.
Are these bounties nearby of each other? Is it possible to pick up multiple and then just go after all of them?
Anders sort of pipes up and says, you can take a copy of each of them. I just need to put your group name down on assigned as dispatched, and then that way, if anyone else goes out for it, they already know that if another group comes back, it's first they get the payout, not the second group. That's all.
Got it. Well, then that's also an option.
So a group name, you say?
I don't know. They're the Adventurers Guild likes propping up adventure names. I don't know. He looks at crest he's been playing with, which has a, on one side it's the hand of Torm, on the other it's a raven. The raven banner?
What about the band of bread?
Do you
I roll my
want...
eyes at that one.
I would rather not be laughed at every time I walk in here, Master Dwarf.
What do you
It's not the
mean?
first
Do you
time.
know anyone here who even knows how proper bread tastes?
No, they don't, which is exactly why that would not be.
Boris chimes
Those
up from the
weird
other side of the room and says, "Pound of bread, you breadcrumbs after that one."
Not... You see what I mean?
Hmm.
Would that make you loaf loafer?
He just face palms. Boris, that was so bad I felt half my brain dying.
He turns back to his drink and his other rowdy comments with his own successfully now clearly blind drunk companions. The 6 of them in total.
Oh.
Has Thomas at this point got me a beer?
Yes, Thomas has brought you guys around. Thomas is just sort of like at the other end of the bar, giving you guys space, talking to the other 3 individuals.
So I'm going to look down at the brew and go,
How about the Raven's Brew?
and then take a drink.
Make it the Raven stew, and I'm down.
Merciful gods above and below. You know what? Put down the ravens, man. We'll see what we're going to change it with.
It's almost as bad as the Wolf Clan.
There's way worse. Trust me.
Did you mean the
I
Wolf's
would
Guard?
rather...
Says Anders.
That's the one.
Oh, they used to be part of this guild, and they were forefathers and most successful guild we've ever had.
Wasn't one
that's
of them a
because...
psychopath?
I think they were all psychopaths, if you believe the stories my granddad used to tell me.
Wasn't the last seneschal in the Wolf Guard at one point?
Allegedly. Rumor has it. I think we've got some signed memorabilia somewhere in the back.
Yeah, I double-checked that one. No.
But anyway, Raven's Men it is for now. You could change the name at a later date, but and you can just see that there's this scribble Raven's Men being tagged down onto the bottom of the 3 bounties you've just drawn up on the board. And he denotes with some markings a clear date, today's date.
And well, since we're apparently banned now, might as well pay for our lodgings for the night. Do you have any spare rooms?
In addition to your normal one, of course.
Yeah, I've got my normal one, but one for my companions. I'm pretty sure the young elf lady will want one of her own as well, so make that 2.
Very well, consider it done. But I will say, obviously, with the celebrations coming up in a month or so, then we expect the boarding price to, naturally increase substantially whilst we have people coming to town from outside.
Now, and I'm pretty sure you're going to let me know when there's more money to fork over.
That would be now if you want to book that far in advance.
Fair. Okay, fair enough. How much?
And he scribbles a number down and passes it to you on the parchment.
Okay.
I
obviously look at the parchment.
Yeah, it's a tune of 120 gold for your standard 3 months board. That previously was only 60 gold.
So you guys trying to build a cathedral or something?
No, just capitalize on, new markets.
Bloody golden orderites. Yeah, you know what? Put it on my tab for now. If we come back alive, we'll pay in full price. If we don't, well, I don't know. You'll spring a legend and up the room price some more.
One month it is then.
We'll. So, how about we sit down at a table and draw some details? And I do have some business to conclude by the time the evening's over, so
Okay.
let's see what we go to bed on, shouldn't we?
All right.
Hmm.
So as the group settles down in front of the fireplace, a little bit of a plate of food is brought out before you all. This wonderful looking conjured spectral like chicken. That's before you all with extra bread and rations and seasons and all sorts of fruits that you can all imagine were once something very different. But it tastes just the
Yeah.
same.
Lothar just pulls an apple out of one of his pouches. It's not a very shiny looking one. It's pretty old, but he looks at the food, shakes his head, and bites the apple.
Out of my pocket, I will grab a couple of what looks like semi-translucent stones, and I will start chewing on one of them. I will just eat this for now. I can't stomach that conjured garbage.
Hard candy.
It's if you've never had this before, do this fun little game. Just close your eyes and take a bite out of each and try to tell them apart.
What with the conjured food?
Yeah, with the conjured food.
Oh, I mean, it tastes like puke either way.
Wouldn't it's not that bad. Just tastes like the kind of taste you instinctively get when somebody tells you something tastes like chicken. Not really.
I mean,
Chicken.
if everything tastes like chicken, no amount of imagination is gonna save that. I want to see you eating an apple like that for the rest of your life.
It's a good apple, and he tosses it half-eaten to the dwarf.
I will take a bite.
It tastes like
It
an
is a
actual
good
apple.
apple. It tastes like an apple. It's a good apple. But you don't want to be eating apples for the rest of your life, are you now?
He stops, frowns, ponders. At least it's not oats.
It doesn't matter what it is, as long as it's the same thing for the rest of your life, you'll get bored of it. Which is why I've made it my life's mission to find new flavors wherever I can find them, no matter how strange they may be. Which is exactly why I want to take down the Drake.
And what are you going to do when you run out of things to eat?
That possible?
Oh, I mean, conjured food is always there if I would otherwise starve. It's the very last resort I would go to. And otherwise, I have my trusty rock salt treats.
So, back to sorry.
I was going to ask Aaron, did you try and say something there? We didn't catch it.
No.
Right, in which case, as the group plots and plans, out of curiosity, just as a vote, which bounty would the party like to undertake next session?
So, both
Lothar
both the
would suggest the missing people first, because it seems
that
to
wa-
be the easier, the more approachable. So it's easier goal to buy supplies. He'd argue.
so that was up north, right?
Yep.
So was the Firetail.
Firetail was northwest, the other two were northeast.
Right. Or we can start with the missing people, and if we just so happen to run into a Firetail, I wouldn't be shy to at least see what we can muster.
So we're going to need to get some supplies and do some proper research as well beforehand.
Mhm.
So I suggest we take the next couple of days to figure out exactly what it is we're going up against. There's a pretty big library in the Golden Keep, isn't there?
Hmm.
Might as
That
well do
sounds
some
like a plan.
research. For my part, I've only mostly hunted, since I've been on my own at least, I've mostly hunted brigands, wolves, that sort of thing. I've only killed a few demons with the Knights of the Dominion back when I ran with them.
Okay.
Like I said, no offense to any of you, but you don't look like Knights of the Dominion.
Yeah, but so it's not like only Knights of the Dominion are capable.
No, I'm not saying that, but
You kind of are in your own way.
I'll give you a final little bedtime story. Have you ever tried skeleton broth? It's a really good way to stay warm in the cold nights. I'll leave you
you
with
mean
that.
skeleton. He stops for a bit, frowns, ponders, and just shakes his head at the possible implications. Yeah,
I will glance over at my blunderbuss. It's like Avalanche and I have been through a fair share of meal sharing. Let's keep it at that.
As the conversation dies down and eventually the companions retire to their rooms, Ariel getting a whole room to herself and the other three of you sharing one, I'm guessing.
Lothar would take the time before, once everybody's settled in, he would take the time to go to the pleasure house, find a very specific, petite, blonde-looking woman.
I would probably
And
say
hand
that
her
would be
the
done the
package.
next day because it's already got late. Effectively, you spent the entire second half of the day
Okay.
in the adventure skill. So we'll explore that next time. So next session will be about exploring Golden Keep, doing a bit of errands, bit of inventory acquiring, and then perhaps the beginning of the adventure. But leaving with you with this, a new take I want to try and do sort of with these sessions. As you know, night falls. Thomas waves you, bids you adieu as he's not booking a room and board here, Voldreth, as the other individuals head on out and sort of tap you on the shoulder and just say, "It's been a pleasure. We'll see you soon. Want to hear all about the
Yes.
Raven's bread loaf or whatever you ended up with."
Oh, you'll hear all about
I
the
like
cakes.
that name.
As we pan above the city, the night sky illuminating the streets as the torchlight glances off, gleaming all the golden filigree armaments and various rooftops. The Golden Keep itself, as we head up to one of the tallest towers there. And in one of the darker rooms at the top, low candlelight, a figure with his back to us is stood over a table with parchment sprawling out and books open at all different pages. As the doors open, a messenger comes in. Silence, coldness echoing throughout the chamber. A few footfalls before the messenger says, "My liege, we think we found it." A tankard is put down on the table, and a right withered hand, golden in colour, rests to the right of it. As we see an old looking, very well regal decorated religious figure turn slowly, face the messenger, and say, "Good. So it begins." And that's where we'll leave it for tonight.
Nice.
Ooh.
Great.
Mm.
All right, people. I'm going to stop the recording there. An hour and 44 minutes. It's not bad.
Nice.